Us.
Okay.
So we're back. All right, so I apologize for our technical difficulties. We lost internet here, at least downstairs. So while Jim is proposed, Eliza, did you get the document so you can see it? $208,000. I have concerns about how we would get to some of those, and I don't know that I could support them in this configuration. And there are oftentimes where we have had some surplus in employee insurances because we have used a not to exceed number, and then it ends up coming in lower. And this year, we know going into the budget that it was 0. So there's no buffer unless, of course, there's a census change in there. So I have some concerns in this volatile time to removing the placeholder. And I don't think that's not a placeholder dollar amount. I don't know what the exact dollar amount would be. Don is not here this evening, and I can have someone in our assistant business manager take a look and give us that number, but it wouldn't be till at least tomorrow. And then, so I don't know what that is. If we were cut to there, again, we were talking about legal, but we don't know what legal concerns we will have, but it's a risk, but it's not a known expense at this current time.
I think the biggest challenge with all of this is the timing right now. This is, we had concluded our process for this phase anyway. And I don't know how within the next 15 minutes to make any substantive changes to our proposal and do so thoughtfully and carefully. So for that reason alone, not that, again, I'm not willing to look at the numbers again if the Board of Finance sends it back to us. But I don't think we can do it now and do it in a way that's taking the proper care and due diligence to ensure that we're making appropriate choices. So for that reason, I can't right now consider altering any numbers that we came up with during our, several weeks at least, and even months of conversation about the budget. It's just not feasible within the context of this meeting.
So just remind us all where we're at, that this discussion is part of a motion to approve the number before the Board of Finance now, that is the Selectmen's budget, so that there was a decrease in the human services, increase in fuel across multiple departments, and then a $3 increase in the Eastern Highlands. So is there more discussion on that motion? Here, Liza saying, I'm with you. There would have to be a lot more thought into this. I would certainly, if the Board of Finance had come back to us and asked us to take another look and given us some direction, which has not happened at this point. So I feel strongly that the budget we put forward is the budget that is needed. Again, I'll remind you both that we cut significantly the request that came from Public Works. Our Public Works Director significantly increased the road budget. And then when we were looking at cuts, suggested that maybe we wait until the software that he had, the pavement management software that he had put forth in a request that's before CIP. Let's take a look at that and use that as our planning tool moving forward, and wait one more year before we put another significant increase in our roads. And we did that. I'm still not sure that's the right thing to do. I feel strongly that software is going to show us just how much we are putting into our roads. And I think Troy would say the same thing. But we took that particular reduction at a risk to putting some more money into roads currently. So I don't know that we could do any more justice to some real thoughtful numbers at this point. And I don't know that it's exactly $6,000. I'd have to look at the exact amount they were looking for from the senior center. That might be something I'd be comfortable. at Board of Finance, I would be open to on Thursday night.
You've heard my comments. So
Right,
I have
so,
nothing more to add.
so the motion before us is to approve Board of Selectmen budget at $4,078,821. Kelsey, we do a roll call vote?
Liza,
Aye.
Jen,
No,
Erica,
Aye. Motion carries. All right, I'm gonna do this all thoughtfully, but move a little quickly. We talked about Moose Meadow Road at our last meeting, and we had all agreed that of the two state-approved vendor quotes Troy gave us, the one that had the fixed cost was probably the better direction for us to go. Since then, Troy has, and you should have each received the details over here with the town seal on the top. Or maybe not. A total cost of just under $3 for the paving portion, the drainage portion that Public Works would be doing. And then my suggestion is that we add a contingency fee with the challenge in pricing currently. And that would bring it to just about $343,000 using that initial proposal. I'm not asking for us to choose a vendor because we don't have funding currently, but spoke at Board of Finance about this. At that point, Chairman McCoo had, said in round numbers, they might be looking to approve $350,000. And so my motion is that we formally ask the Board of Finance to appropriate $350,000 in a 3,900-foot section of Moose Meadow Road. Is there a second?
Second.
By Liza, discussion.
so that $350,000 is, we're gonna be spending that this year.
That's what we're asking them to, yes.
Yeah.
Because we certainly don't have that in the budget. The entire roads budget is about $243,000 for the year. So it would be additional costs and not putting it into the budget for next year. So they had asked that question and I said, we weren't asking to increase our budget.
The
We're
intention
coming.
is to repair it this year under the present budget.
Correct, as soon as we possibly could, if there's support.
Did we get that third?
He has not received a third
I haven't
quote yet,
received it yet. Yeah, it's still.
Okay.
Yeah. and it won't be a state
It won't
approved
be a state
vendor.
approved vendor.
So we're still using the fixed cost number when we go to them. And then again, using the maximum of 15% contingency.
I was more concerned about their quote, that it became a fixed cost quote, not necessarily that it was a state approved vendor.
Right, but our procurement process, our process is to, and we're not approving a vendor, which is why you haven't heard me say who that vendor is here in public meeting, because we haven't approved anyone yet.
Yeah, that's budgetary.
Yeah, yeah, and so the procurement policy is that, well, we use a state approved vendor for 3 quotes. So Troy had gotten 2 quotes from state approved vendors, and then we asked him to get a third. But that he can still have that before we formally approve, a vendor and secure the funding in the meantime. So my motion is that we formally ask the Board of Finance so they can take that topic up. And then I think by the time we sit down to move forward on that, we should hopefully have a third quote. Make sense? Any other discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Carries unanimously. All right, moving on to appointments. I'm going to move to appoint Nicole Fusco as the School Building Committee Recording Secretary, retroactive to December 15th, expiring June 30th, 2022.
Second.
Seconded by Liza. So began working for them, but they should be formally appointed by the Board of Selectmen. But she's been taking their minutes and doing a good job, and we only do them for 1 year and we reappoint
Right.
for the next fiscal year. All right, any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. I will move to appoint Samantha Sperry, Board of Finance Recording Secretary, effective March 21st, 2021, 2022, expiring June 30, 2022.
Second.
Seconded by Liza. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I want to thank them both for coming forward and their service. Tax refunds, I will move to refund Knight and Sons Construction Corporation a certificate of correction in the amount of $101.96.
Second.
Seconded by Jim, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I will move to refund Financial Services Vehicle Trust a certificate of correction in the amount of $562.49.
Second.
Seconded by Jim, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
I move to refund Frank R. Simlick Senior a certificate of correction in the amount of $22.34.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to refund Frank Simlick Senior a certificate of correction in the amount of $63.58.
Second.
Seconded by Liza, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Carries. And move to refund Frank R. Simlick Senior a certificate of correction in the amount of $26.39.
Second.
Seconded by Jim, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Carries. All right, speeding. We talked about this a little bit last time after our last meeting. I think you all know, I mentioned there had been an accident in the Village Hill area. It was related to speed. I believe the individual is okay to about believe it resulted in a fatality that we know of. But from the photos that I saw, you would have thought there were multiple cars involved. The car split in half. It was significant and excessive speed was the cause. So we've had multiple, you have copies of a letter. There's an actual letter upstairs for both of you from a resident. Yeah, in that, yes, in that, there had been an accident on Route 320 that actually was a car versus pedestrian that was a fatality. Again, speed related. Not waiting for speed data. I actually formally requested from Troop C to increase speed patrols in this area and begin a conversation with us. Troy and his staff were able to go out and put a speed sign up in that area. And I think you heard Troy say before, at 4:30 on a weekday afternoon, the highest speed we've had since March 7th for that horrific accident. Again, very fortunate that somebody who lived in that area or in one of those homes was not injured at 74 miles an hour, clocked by speed radar. So it's not just our residents. This is a throughway coming out of Stafford as well. But regardless of where the individuals live, the speed is a concern. It's affecting all of that area, St. Moritz, Village Hill, Schofield Road. So we'll continue to compile the data, and I'll continue to work with Troop C to get them to support patrols in this area. What we may need to do is look at other sources of funding, some kind of speed radar by the police, and we will see how that goes. Any questions or concerns? All right. What I want people to know is we do take it seriously. But unlike some larger towns without a police force at our disposal to point them in that direction and do radar, we work with Troop C, and so that's what I've been doing. These data to say there's a problem. Let's see what you can do out there. All right, that brings us to present to speak. If you are on the call and you're not here, and you're here for the Board of Selectmen meeting, and you would like to speak, if you're in the room, raise your hand and state your name. Yes, sir.
Well, my name,
I do.
I'm Herb Clyde on Turnpike. I heard you.
Go ahead.
I heard you mention, sir, and that's really what I'm here about. In the assessments on the industrial land on Turnpike Road, those various lots, egregious, so wrong. that I've been trying to deal with the assessor since last November, October, November area. I talked to him then. He said, well, I'll look at it. I'll call you back in January. I never heard from him. January, I came in, spoke to him again on it. I said, you never called me. Oh, well, I'll call you in another week. Never heard from him. Last week I came up here. Wanted to talk to Walter. Now I find he's gone. Well, we have a lady down in the assessor's office by the name of Rachel, who worked in the assessor's office. And she'll call you next weekend. Never heard from Rachel. Mike, here's the problem. My son bought one of those industrial lots. It's a $137,000. The other lots along the line there are all industrial. They're assessed at $1,900. The egregious, the disparity is so egregious that I've got to talk to somebody. I know I can tell you what the problem is. The problem is on my son's lot that he bought, there are domestic criteria on an industrial land when you can't do that. Because by zoning, you can't build a house on industrial land.
So, Mr. Clyde, can I say to you that tomorrow morning, when I have an opportunity to speak with the folks upstairs, and Rachel is here, and we get a full understanding, that I will assure you that by end of day tomorrow, you would hear back from us and begin to see if we can't resolve what direction
I
we can
think
go.
I gotta talk to somebody.
So I won't tell you it will be tonight. I'm
Nobody is.
leaving this meeting to go to another meeting,
Yeah.
but I will speak with
Oh, I
department.
appreciate
There's
it.
absolutely no excuse that our former assessor should not have been responding to you, and I apologize. It's unexcusable,
Yeah.
but I will assure you that before end of day, so that we can begin
Okay, well,
to
I-
understand what we can to move forward with this.
Okay,
issue.
well, thank you very
You're
much. I
welcome.
appreciate it.
And she's not the only one that's gonna pick up the phone either, so.
Right, so this is an issue that landed. Rachel is working with us as you, until we have a new assessor, and working on many issues, that were left from our previous assessor. And so this is
Very disappointing.
very disappointing. But I know Rachel is working hard on these answers. If you haven't heard from her, it may be because she doesn't answer yet, but she will get back to you, and she and I will talk tomorrow.
All right, well,
She has a
can
number
explain
of
it to
things
her.
on her desk.
We
What
should
the
Yes.
problem
at
is.
least call with an update where we are.
Yeah, and I believe I believe you were in last week, because they've been keeping me up to date on some things, so I will touch
Thank
base
you,
with
ma'am.
Rachel.
I
You're very
appreciate it.
welcome. We will
Yeah,
begin having discussions with
Our
you to see where we
apologies,
can go.
our apologies.
All right, is there anyone else present to speak? Yes, Ms. Chapman.
My name is Suzanne Chapman. I've been a resident of Wellington since 1987. I've worked for the town and Board of Education, both as an employee and an elected official since 1988. I currently serve as registrar of voters. I have a fairly clear understanding of how the town operates financially. I had intended to make my comments at the beginning of the meeting. I forgot about the time change, so I apologize if anything is redundant, and I'm going to try and be really fast because I know we're in a rush. Every year, the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance request that department heads submit budget proposals outlining what they need to efficiently and responsibly operate, and the departments comply. They attend meetings and defend their budgets, explain the requests, and outline the importance of what they're asking for. Then we start to hear the same old things. The faces at the table change, but the words are the same. Keep spending flat. We must support our infrastructure. We can't afford it. Put it in CIP. like roads for 30 years. Keep the mill rate flat. Residents on fixed incomes can't pay. Can't raise taxes this year because pandemic, economy, inflation, war, pick a reason. There's always something. This town does not value its assets. There isn't a town-owned building that is not in need of repair. I know, I've worked in them. The town's biggest and most undervalued asset is its employees. This becomes glaringly obvious every year at budget season when experienced qualified people are asked what they need and slapped down time and time again. Always trying to find a cheap way out, a Band-Aid to fix things for now. A prime example is the difficulty we have had finding a qualified assessor. Without a strong and well-functioning assessors and revenue collectors office, what do we have? No taxes assessed equals no taxes collected. I urge you to properly fund these offices, and I'm thankful that you've sent your budget forward without further cuts. I implore you as a board to listen to the people that work for you. This town cannot continue to function and thrive unless it is properly funded. No, I don't necessarily want my taxes to go up, but I want Wellington to thrive. Value your assets, value your staff, submit a budget. That is what we need to thrive. If not us, then who? And if not now, then when? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else present to speak? And if you're here for ARPA, we will continue this meeting onto the ARPA meeting shortly. Kathy and Chris, yes, Kathy Demers. Oh, we can't hear you, Kathy. You're unmuted, but we can't hear you. Still can't hear you. We'll give you a minute while I move to Mr. Clark. Mr. Clark, did you have your hand up?
Yes, yeah, I would, I also am sorry for not attending at the very beginning of the meeting. I also didn't see where the meeting had changed to make room for the COVID Relief Board meeting. So,
Identify yourself.
excuse me?
Can you identify yourself for the record, please?
Yes, I'm Matthew Clark. I live at 42 Burt Latham Road, Wellington, Connecticut. So the town budget increase for this year, I would like to see stay in line with inflation. I'd like to see it similar to the 4 or 5% increases that surrounding towns are approving. I think a 10% increase is too high. I think a 4 or 5% increase is much more appropriate given that we have had a 3% increase in the grand list, and that was mostly due to asset inflation. Just to be clear, I'm not saying that we should bargain from there. I think we should end up at 4 or 5%. And I also don't think we should be spending or using one-time emergency COVID funds to pay for new town and government jobs. Every single expert I've talked to and that I read about, they all say this is bad financial management. So I wouldn't do that. And as a matter of fact, during the Board of Finance meeting, someone said that they were using COVID funds to ease the new positions so it isn't so hard on taxpayers. I think hiding increases in spending by paying for it with emergency COVID funds is not a good idea, and it's not good financial management. I would limit the capital spending to a 3% increase until we know how the town is going to move forward with our schools. Mismanagement by the superintendent and the town means that we now have leaking roofs, apparently, and even after the town has approved money to fix them in a town meeting. So we're not going to move forward with that because we're not going to get reimbursed while this town issue is, or the new school issue is before us, before the state. So thank you.
We have time for one more comment. Mr. Littleton.
Peter Latentish, 97 Fast Road. I'll be brief because I want to get to the ARPA meeting too. But I am disappointed that the Board of Selectmen didn't respond to what I thought was direction from the Board of Finance that the increases are large that you're proposing. I understand all the needs you've identified and the enthusiasm you have for them. But a 10% increase in spending is significant. It's over 2 million increases, my best tally it. And I would add that it's easy to disparage past years' town governments and our townspeople that approve budgets. But I think the town of Wellington has done fairly well, speaking for an older generation of voters. And you might consider thinking about how we got here as you move forward. Thank you very much.
So move on to good and welfare. Once again, if you can, please support our small businesses. Wellington Day will be back in May this year, as well as the PTA Fun Run after a 2-year absence. That will be back on May. Those will both be held on May 28th, and our Memorial Day Parade will go on for the first time in 2 years, and that will be Monday, May 30th. And then I'll remind you all that next Wednesday is mobile food share here at the town office building from 30. And with that, Kelsey, do we need to formally end this meeting? So for all those that are on this call, we are going to end this meeting. It's going to kick you out, and then you just need to come back into the ARPA so we can have 2 separate recordings. I apologize for any of that confusion. And with that, 6:39. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Again, we're going to move right upstairs and open that meeting and let you in.